Good morning, Xbox Nation, and Happy New Year to all. Welcome to the first Xbox Factor podcast of 2019. And man, we have really put a show together for you. Listen, it's been a very good year for the Xbox platform, but 2019 is looking to possibly become the biggest year this generation. The absence of Sony at E3 2019 could be huge and a tremendous turning point in the market share for the Microsoft brand. I'm personally very excited about the future of the brand, and so should you. But with me on this magical mystery tour, and of course, that is a Beatles reference. Some of you may not be old enough to know what I'm talking about. Is my partner in crime, the Welsh Gamer. Welcome, brother, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, my friend, and Happy New Year to you as well, and Mrs. Boomstick, and everyone in the chat. Hope you've had yourselves a lovely New Year's Eve, and a Happy New Year to you. And credit to 2019, Boom. As you said, it's going to be a massive year, no doubt. I have a lot of faith in this year's offerings in terms of the games, from multiplats to Xbox exclusives. It is going to be a ride of a lifetime. But what I'm going to say, though, is after last week's show, where you gave me a lot to think about on my personal game of the year of 2018. I know it's a little late to the party, but I got an answer for you finally, Boom.
All right, well, go for it.
It's State of Decay 2, hands down.
Oh, wow, dude, completely out of left field. That's a solid choice.
Mate, it was a hard one because Red Dead Redemption 2 is arguably the best game to see consoles in a long while. But I think for me, personal, on a very personal level, a little late, like I said, a whole week late, but 2018's Game of the Year for the Welsh Gamers, State of Decay 2, and I highly recommend it to anyone if you haven't played it already. But boom, we got a heck of a show ahead of us. I just had to get that out of the way. You lead the charge, brother.
Okay, well, listen, even though the end of the year holidays have passed us by, the gift giving never really stops. There are birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, and of course, a host of others. Maybe you miss someone on your Christmas list and you want to do the right thing, air quotes, but are stumped on what to get them. If that someone special is a gamer who enjoys social media but wants to be recognized in the best way possible, look no further than XboxGamerPicks.com. Obviously, it's run by the graphic god, aka J Dubs, who is a proud sponsor of Double Barrel Gaming. His work is impeccable, his prices are budget friendly, and his attention to detail is second to none. XboxGamerPicks.com is an official sponsor once again, and I'm very proud to say that. I highly endorse his work as well as him endorsing this channel. Please check him out. The link will be provided in the show notes below, but it would also be dropped in there by, of course, the Sheriff, UK Dazarus, throughout the show. So please check it out. But you know what? Let's move on to the first topic, and I'm excited, okay? I'm a huge Titanfall fan, and a recent report states that Titanfall 3 just sent out job listings. Yes, this could be the exclusive that I think Microsoft should have if they play their cards correctly. And the reason why I say that is this. Companies like EA, who are known through the industry as putting the dollar before the people, they want to make the most money possible. Now, Respawn Entertainment are the makers of Titanfall 1 and 2, and they are positioning themselves to release Titanfall 3 to the masses. The question is, who should they release it to? Now, this is where I want to get into. This is my personal opinion. A lot of this is speculation. The job listing is out there. Titanfall 3 is coming, right? We know that Respawn is putting the final touches on the Star Wars game, which is supposed to launch in late 2019. Probably around the holiday would make sense. But for this story, a series of job listings were spotted on Respawn's website, and basically it confirms that Titanfall 3 is coming. Now, this is why I suggest, and again, I want to hear your take on this chat. I also want, of course, hear your opinion on it, Welsh. Let's go to numbers. Like, I'm a numbers guy, right? And, when it comes to the video game business, it really, at the end of the day, for these big companies, it's the money, right? It's the numbers. It's the attach rate. Well, let's break down the numbers. Titanfall 1, which was considered a launch window title for the original, for the Xbox One, sold between 10 and 11 million copies. Now that's ridiculous. It's a new IP. It's made by the makers of Call of Duty. It's very unique in its way. You're dropping mechs left and right. You're fighting. You're going 12 on 12 or 8 on 8. And the game is just fantastic. I mean, again, for me as a Robotech fan growing up, it was a dream come true. I was obviously a big Transformers fan in the 80s. So being able to jump into a mech that was kind of like a living armor, if you will, I was excited. But then Titanfall 2 came out. Now, obviously, the positioning of that game basically signed its own death warrant. We know that it came out between Call of Duty and Battlefield, and I'm sorry, man. It never stood a chance. But this is where it gets interesting. As of this date, it has sold between 4 and 5 million copies. Now, that's not a lot. And 75% of that 5 million, let's say, were on the Xbox One, which is considered the shooter box of the industry. Obviously, the PlayStation fan base showed it no love for a lot of reasons. One, some of them might have felt a little tainted that they didn't get Titanfall 1. And you know what? First-person shooters outside of Call of Duty, they don't do very well on that platform. So here's my question to you. If I were making the call, Welsh, and I was part of EA's investors, I would make Titanfall 3 an exclusive for the Xbox. And if they want to bring it out this generation, fine. Remember, everything that's going to come out now is going to play on a new Xbox and vice versa. So let's say, for instance, it's a launch title in 2020, or maybe the end of 2020 or 2021. Here's my question to you, Drew. If you were a part of this board, you and I were sitting there, we're smoking the cigars, we're drinking the good stuff on the rocks, if you will. Would you make this an Xbox One exclusive?
Right, Boom. I want to be clear to you and everyone in the chat. While I might come across as an Xbox fanboy at times, which I won't deny, that I do geek out and fanboy out from time to time, but bottom line, I'm of a mind where I really don't care if a game is exclusive or not to my platform of choice. As long as I can play that game, I don't care where that game goes. But I have to be honest, Boom, with that same thing I just said in mind, when it affects the game that I like, I don't care what needs to be done, in the sense that it makes sense overall that it becomes an Xbox exclusive again. The game was, and I don't care what anyone says, an all-round better multiplayer experience on the Xbox due to the cloud and the Azure servers. And financially, like, let's look at the numbers, Boom. You said it just a moment ago. The numbers speak for themselves. 11 million sold when it was an Xbox exclusive versus just 4 million when it was on multi-platform. And I can tell you why that is, Boom. And I mean, even as an outsider looking in, I haven't played a great deal of Titanfall 2. I haven't touched the campaign. I've heard great things about the campaign, but where it is at for me is the multiplayer. And I played the Titanfall 2 beta, and that put me off straight away. And then, having gotten EA access and Titanfall 2 is in the vault, I have played a little bit of the multiplayer since. And I'm still genuinely not very impressed with the multiplayer. Be that as it may, each to their own. I know other people may disagree, but Titanfall 1's multiplayer was miles better than Titanfall 2's.
Correct.
And that is not my opinion anymore. I used to say that's just my opinion, but that's just a fact at this point. If you put those two games side by side, Titanfall 1 looks like the successor to Titanfall 2. It's completely ass backwards. I just think Titanfall 3, if they take the good and the bad from all the games, right? If they take the single player from Titanfall 2, which, as far as I've been told, is very good, and they go back to the classic, the roots of the multiplayer with Titanfall 1 using the cloud, which that was definitely utilized with the Xbox One. I've seen videos on YouTube, Boom, where people have actually compared a game of attrition side by side with Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2, and it's night and day. Titanfall 1 running on the Xbox One Fat has way more going on. The chaos, the battlefield, there's so much going on. You've got 5v5 actual, PvPs. And then while that's going on, you've got up to like 30 and 40 at a time robots and AIs running around killing each other themselves, as well as multiplayer players that you're playing against. It was just a whole different thing. And then that's before you even get started with the whole Titans and the chaos that brought. It was an overall overhaul of a game, Boom. And financially, it makes sense as the numbers don't lie. And on a personal sense, as someone who really enjoyed Titanfall 1 and looked forward to Titanfall 2 and was bitterly disappointed, I think if Titanfall 3 has any chance in hell of getting to any kind of standing and getting as successful as Respawn, I imagine, want it to be, I think it is in their best interest to make it an Xbox exclusive, a launch title on the Scarlet family of devices come next generation, full 4K the works, using the xCloud, potentially even using maybe 100% destructible environments like Crackdown 3 did. Just go all in with Titanfall 3 and you might have a good game on your hands. You might have a very good game on your hands because, like I've said, Titanfall 1, in my opinion, looks like the successor to Titanfall 2. And how is that even possible? It should get better, not worse. But that's just my take on it. I think financially and overall, as a fan of the game and what it was, because I was a day one buyer of Titanfall 1, and from my standpoint, I just think it's the only decision. It makes all the sense in the world that it is exclusive to the Xbox platform. It was a much better game for it.
Well, you know what? Let me just say this. With the information that we have, it seems likely that Titanfall 3 or whatever iteration of the series Respawn is working on, it's still in the early stages of development. And like I was saying earlier, we do have their game Jedi Fallen Order rumored to be arriving supposedly in November of 2019. So it may be a while before we see Titanfall 3. There's a couple of points I want to make before moving on to the next topic, though. First of all, I am literally, when I read this information, jumped out of my chair in excitement because I'm a huge Titanfall fan for so many reasons. I have the collector's editions. I've taken pictures. Everyone on the internet knows what they look like. They're fantastic pieces. Like I said, I was a Robotech kid growing up. I love the mechs. I love everything about this series. And you said something that I just kind of want to, touch on. I don't think I could have said any better myself. Take Titanfall 1 multiplayer, take Titanfall 2 single player, merge those together, and you have a perfect Titanfall 3. End of story. No questions asked, because I'm right there with you. I have put between both games well over 2,000 to 2,200 hours in gameplay between both of them. On Titanfall 1, I maxed out my level. I prestige so many times. I think I'm like level 7 or 8 in Titanfall 2 online. The one thing I disliked about Titanfall 2's online were something that you brought up. The grunts that were the NPCs. It shouldn't be just attrition. I like the fact that they were always running around. They were everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Even when you weren't playing attrition, and they seem to have somehow, like you said, it got a little worse rather than get better, which I thought was a little strange. And one of the things I gotta say that I did not like about the game, talking about Titanfall 2, was that the mech that you picked was the mech that you picked, and that was it. There was no changing guns or anything. Whereas, and if you remember Titanfall 1, you could pretty much make that Titan, everything that you wanted to as a player, especially when it came to the weapons. And you know what? I like the cards that you can drop. I thought that was a great addition. So I'm right there with you. I thought that, for me, listen, I played the shit out of Titanfall 2, and I'm not sorry that I put as much hours as I did. I thought it was fantastic. But they need to do better. I think that they got the single player right. The single player story campaign was absolutely fantastic. No questions asked. I say this to you all the time. You have to get over and play that well. It's in the vault. You're not paying technically for it because you got EA access. You got to give that single player a real shot. It's probably one of Respawn. I mean, when you compare it to the Call of Duty stories, because obviously they were a different company, they're Respawn now, it's probably some of the best work they did. I mean, there's a real emotional hook there between you and your mech, and I just loved it.
Yeah, no, I've heard great things about the single player, and that's not where my distaste for Titanfall 2 even begins. Like the single player could be candidate to Game of the Year for all I care. It's just that, like for me, when I think of Titanfall, I just think of that first day turning on my Xbox One when I first
So
got
good,
it.
so good.
And I, I downloaded Titanfall 1. I had the Titanfall 1 console with the box art, the digital code, and that was my first game and my
Wow.
first experience with the Xbox One. And I played the shit out of that game. I loved that game. And for it to go backwards, and for me, I just think it's simply a case of catering to the PlayStation. And I know people in the chat are going to be like, oh, well, here you go. But bottom line, they don't have the network. They don't have the servers. They can't compete with Xbox on the cloud and the servers and all that stuff. And Titanfall 1's strength came from its multiplayer and all the AIs and the utilization of the cloud and the servers going on over at Xbox with Xbox Live, the Azure servers, all that stuff united into one. And the second they spread themselves a bit too thin across a couple more platforms, being one of them the PlayStation that arguably has one of the worst networks in the business, they how could they go up a notch? How could they go better? They had to stay still, if not go backwards a few steps, because if they tried to do what they did with Titanfall 1 on PlayStation, there'd be mass bloody box blowing up. Like people will be ringing in left and right. Like, oh, my PlayStation just blew up. I put in Titanfall 2, went onto the attrition mode, and my PlayStation just set on fire. What the fuck? Like that's what you'd be hearing left and right. It's just it's not the same. It's not the same at all. But like there's no comparison on that side of the coin, and that is where I think Titanfall fell short. They should have if they wanted to go bigger and better and make the attrition mode and all the other game modes bigger and better with more AIs and making it more of a battlefield with more things going on, they should have just stuck with the Xbox and the cloud rather than try and spread themselves a bit too thin.
I agree.
Bilbo Baggins would say, he feels like he's been like butter spread over too much bread.
Not enough butter. I like what you're going. I like the reference. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. But real quick, I want to move on to the next topic because we spent some good time on that. Great stuff from you, Drew. I have to give a big shout out to Mega 3000 with the incredible $5 super chat, and he says, "I love the show, Boom. Less than 25 days until Resident Evil 2, baby. Hope that you do a review on it. Happy New Year, brother." And guess what? Thanks to that $5, I am going to now go down the list and bring up the Resident Evil topic because it's a topic that I cannot stop talking about. Now, as we know, Resident Evil 2 will look and play better on the Xbox One X with confirmed Xbox One X enhancements from day one. The Resident Evil series revolutionized the survival horror genre in video games, no surprise, bringing terror to the masses with its blend of realistic zombies, gore, environmental puzzles, and memorable locales. Now, 20 years after its initial release from 1998, Capcom has announced that the remake of Resident Evil 2 will be coming out this month, January 25th. But I don't want to just talk about we know that's happening, right? But a lot of people don't know that the demo will be released on Xbox One on January 11th. That's only a few days away, folks. Now, here's the thing in regards to the demo. They're calling it the one-shot demo. Now, I have to give a big shout out to Jago Coogan, very good friend of mine, who brought it up to me, and I did some searching. Now, if you're a Resident Evil fan like I am, when Resident Evil 7 came out, I played that demo, man, at least 15 times. There were a lot of times where I was just looking in drawers and checking out the visuals, and you got to play that demo for about 30 minutes from start to finish before you got killed, right? So when they say one-shot demo, there's a lot of controversy to this, and I don't think I've seen anything, and I've been looking for the last couple of days to confirm this or not. There's been talk of when they say one shot, you play it once and you're done. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. in all of my gaming years, I have never heard of a demo that basically has a time limit that once you play it, it's somehow locked on your system. I've never heard of that. Could it be something new? Well, if it is, then it's news to me. Welsh, let me ask you something. Am I talking crazy? Have you ever heard of a one shot being literally, it's like a scratch off. You scratch it off and you pretty much throw it away. Do you think Capcom would do that?
Well, I thought we'd established that it was like you have a half an hour time slot, but once that half an hour's up, you can restart it all the time. But that's not the case, is it?
I don't know. I'm
actually confusing, man. It's so confusing. I'll say this. If it is literally you have half an hour and that is it, I mean, done, dusted, done, trial over. That is ballsy if you're trying to get people on board. Like,
I agree.
Because honestly, it's one thing for people like yourself who are huge fans of the game, like, oh, I can't wait for this demo. You'd be happy if you were served up a bit of bloody shit pie with a zombie head on it. But if you're like Joe Bloggs down the road who's never played Red Dead, let alone Resident Evil, let alone Resident Evil 2, like the old school, you want to get as many people on board as possible. And in order to do that, you need them to have a nice chunk of the pie. So personally, I think if it makes more sense for it to be a replayable 30-minute demo.
Yes.
But if they do go down the road of 30 minutes and that's it, that is ballsy. I'll give Capcom like the big thumb of approval in terms of ballsiness, but it's not a very clever move to branch out and get as many people on board, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. I'm excited. I'll put it to this way. I've been struggling with games to play. I like big games. I purchased Just Cause 4. The head was on sale. I bought the deluxe edition. It was like $64. I'm in the process of returning it. I did not have a good time with it. It was a lot of glitches. The game seemed very janky. So I've kind of been stuck with what to play. I tried playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again. I'm at the end of Chapter 4, and my God. I mean, the game is gorgeous. The story is great. The characters are so memorable, but it's just so slow. I guess maybe because I spent so much time in Assassin's Creed Odyssey that I'm having a hard time. So this demo for me can't come quick enough. And I hope that we're right. I hope that we can play this as much as we can, because in 1998, I played, there was a demo and I played the shit out of that demo. And I will play this demo like it's the full game. But you know what? With what has already been shown at the Tokyo Game Show and E3 2018, RE2 may be the best looking in the series. There's no doubt about it. But the power of the Xbox One X is what we're here to talk about right now. Drew, now here's the thing. Capcom, right out of the gates, when they were showing off this game, they weren't showing this off on a PS4 Pro. They were showing this game off on the Xbox One X in Tokyo during the Tokyo Game Show. That's a big deal because Xbox has no presence there whatsoever. So that says to me, as a consumer, as a fan of the series, that the Xbox One X version is going to be the premier where to play. So I want to get your take on this. This game is going to be big. I think it's going to sell millions and millions of copies. I think it's going to outsell Resident Evil 7. There are so many fans of this game. And again, Resident Evil 7 was my game of the year that year, 2017. Absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of it, but a lot of people were a little put off with the first person. No one, we don't really play Resident Evil's first person. This Resident Evil 2 is that really cool, over the shoulder, Resident Evil 4 look. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of gamers. Now, again, a lot of people don't like horror. This is horror. This is going to be terror, as Mooch likes to call it. Are you excited to see the enhancements that, because you obviously have an Xbox One X. A lot of people in the chat have an Xbox One X. I'm an Xbox One X owner, and of course, this is where I'm buying the game. Are you stoked to see what Capcom has done on this version for the X?
Right. First, Boom, you brought it to my attention. I had no idea really until you just said it. But the fact that it was shown on the One X over in Tokyo Game Show, that speaks volumes in and of itself. That is huge. As like you said, Xbox doesn't really have a presence and that's amazing. But with that said, I mean, I just have to give kudos to that. That is a phenomenal thing. But in terms of Resident Evil 2, the definitive edition is going to be on the Xbox One X. I mean, this is great for Xbox gamers. But more importantly, I got to be honest, Boom, it must be a huge, massive morale boost for the Xbox team. Like anyone over there, Mikey Barra, Phil Spencer, all the gang, they must really be pumping their chests thinking, wow, look at what we've done. I mean, just think about it, Boom. The same feeling that people had with Red Dead Redemption 2. Think about it. People who were diehard PlayStation fans were going out to buy the One X just for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
And let's face it, Boom, when we look at the gaming history books, Resident Evil 2 is light years ahead of Red Dead Redemption in terms of renown and popularity amongst the gaming community. And that is just a fact. So knowing that this remake and reimagining of a classic that arguably played a huge part in history, putting gaming on the map, is going to be playing better on the One X, I mean, that is nuts to me, Boom. Like, that is crazy, especially when you consider that, let's be honest, when you consider the fact that Resident Evil 1 and 2, Resident Evil as a franchise in its earlier years was primarily a PlayStation flagship title.
Yes.
All those years ago. When you thought of Resident Evil 2, you instantly thought of PlayStation. That is huge, Boom. That is incredibly huge for Xbox and is just testament to how far Xbox has come as a platform in general, probably since the OG to now, and this generation, if we're just talking this generation, it's pretty amazing. To say I'm impressed is an understatement, and I simply can't wait to play it myself on the One X in 4K. All this into one, including what you just said, Boom, about it having a huge presence in the Tokyo Game Show, which is unheard of. Like, I didn't even know they knew what an Xbox was over there.
Well, like, I mean, the way the sales go, you'd be right.
Oh, mate, it's just mate. Everything I just said, what you just said, everything, it is just testament to how far Xbox has come, and it's going to be amazing. For one, I can't wait to play this game, Boom. It's going to look phenomenal. I loved the classic Resident Evil games anyway, so bring it on, baby, bring it on.
Well, I'm going to say this. You know, you have to look back to Red Dead Redemption as a launching point for I guess awareness of the power of the Xbox One X, right? I mean, Red Dead is a gorgeous game, right? Runs beautiful, looks fantastic. There's so many good things about the game, but it wasn't until we started hearing like people from IGN being like, "Wait a second, I bought this for my PlayStation 4 Pro, right? And I'm playing it, and I'm already 8 hours in." And this is what I'm talking. Of course, I'm referring to Brian Altano of IGN fame, and he saw it running on the X, and he was like, "Hold on a sec, I'm about 2 shakes of a stick from getting rid of this save and buying it for the X." And that's exactly what he did, because he didn't have an X. He went out and bought an X and bought a copy of Red Dead Redemption 2. I have a funny feeling this may be the case with this game, because Resident Evil may not, for me personally, I've already, stacked it up as my game of the year 2019. Now, again, that might be lunacy to some gamers, because obviously we're only 3 days into the new year, but I know what I like. And Resident Evil 2, the original, is my favorite game of my 40 plus years gaming. Nothing steps in front of it. This just might. Again, I'm not trying to make this a console war thing, but power matters. People that say it, it's funny because this generation started out with power matters, right? 1080p versus 900p. And then it went from, well, the Xbox got the power now. Well, it's no games. And now we know the games are coming. Well, power doesn't really matter because it's only, a few pixels. It's not a few pixels. It's actually double, nearly double. So I think that there are going to be a lot of people who have been on the fence of buying an Xbox One console. Maybe they're just PlayStation folk, and that, you know what? That's your preference. That's perfectly fine. The PlayStation 4 is a very capable console. They're encroaching on 100 million. So I think the word is out that the system is good. But I think that Resident Evil 2, in my opinion, has the same weight or will carry the same weight as a Red Dead Redemption 2. And in regards to graphical prowess, I think they're going to be very comparable. And I also think that you're going to see a real boost in sales when it comes to this game and the Xbox One X console. But if you have nothing else to say in regards to the subject, I kind of want to move on. Is that cool, Drew?
Yeah, mate, move it along. There's only so much we can say, Boom. It's just an incredible feat. And take it away before I say anything else.
Well, you know what? I got to give another shout out to Mega 3000. He dropped another $2 super chat, which is, dude, I can't thank you enough for that. That is very kind of you. Every dollar is greatly appreciated. He says Devil May Cry 5 is 4K 60 on the X. I hope Resident Evil 2 will be the same, and I don't doubt it. I think that everyone is now starting to get to learn the system, and they're going to be pushing it to the best of its ability. But speaking of PlayStation, according to a report, the next Xbox Next could reportedly beat the PlayStation 5 in the console generation with its triple attack that MS has planned, and this actually could come into fruition. We've been hearing this for months now. There's already a lot of chatter on the next generation of gaming, even though neither of the PlayStation 5 or the next Xbox has been confirmed just yet, even though we know they're working on it. Folks at Engadget believe that there's a clear winner in sight, and it could be Microsoft. Sales have improved on the Xbox One line, even though they're still behind the PS4. And I mean, listen, we know that it's 2-1. It's I don't even know if the Xbox One is at 50 million. They could be. We don't know because they don't share numbers anymore. But reports from MPD's Matt Piscatella indicates Xbox One sales show the highest growth of the three major hardware platforms in the US, and the Xbox One X in particular has been performing phenomenally. Now, we've talked about this before, but this statement is facts and cannot be understated. Power does matter, like I said a few minutes ago, and I think it's going to matter even more in the next generation. Now, the Condit believes that a strong upswing at the back end of the console generation will only help the company in the future, and Microsoft certainly has plans there. He also continues with, while there's doubt about messaging and finding features that fit a crowd outside of the hardcore gamers, I feel that the next piece of Microsoft tech may already be setting the stage for the next hardware cycle. Sorry about that. Drew, if any or all of this comes true in the start of the next generation, Microsoft could be going toe-to-toe with Sony, and this is where the new additions of first-party come into play. How big do you think this triple attack is going to be? And could they have caught Sony with their pants down, being the traditional, one console for every gamer?
This is genuinely a tricky one, because in a nutshell, what you're asking me, and it's one of two minds. Like, I've heard the question or the conversation: is Xbox going to completely roll over PlayStation next gen? You've just said it. I've heard are they going to be neck and neck, toe to toe? It's given me a lot to think about. But I gotta say, Xbox, Phil and team, this generation have quite literally paved the way for a strong next generation. Yep. It is quite literally in the palm of their hand for the taking if they so wish. There's no time for slacking, Boom. There's no time to take your foot off the gas. It's there within arm's reach, but they need to work for it.
Oh, yeah.
But with that said, though, Boom, in what we're talking about being toe-to-toe, or is Xbox going to just roll over PlayStation? This might come as a shock for people who know me. Like, I'm an Xbox guy. I won't deny it. But bottom line, with that all said, Boom, I am not in any way, shape, or form, and I do not think anyone should be underestimating Sony. They are no pushover, and they are not just going to just roll over and let Xbox take anything, even as close as it is to grasp. I honestly think Xbox and PlayStation are going to be so similar in just about every possible regard going into next generation. And honestly, it is literally thanks to Sony's PS4. Sony this generation basically shown Xbox what needs to be done in order to succeed in a gaming division. There's three things, Boom. I broke it down to three things. These are the three things you need if you want to compete in this day and age when it comes to gaming. Number one, powerful hardware. We just spoke highly about power. You need power. People can argue it's not about the power. This generation proved it's about the power. Whether you agree or not, whether I personally couldn't care. It's hard not to deny the One X is a beautiful machine, and I literally drool every time I turn it on. But powerful hardware is up there. Not first out of three, but just one of the three. Powerful hardware. Number two, and this is an obvious one, but it's taken Xbox all generation to do, and an E3 that dropped jaws that come last year. A strong first party. You need a strong first party, a nice laundry list of developers in your arsenal. Yep. And PlayStation has led the charge this gen with their first party. And Xbox may have been a little late to acquisitions, but they're finally there and is paving the way for next gen with a lot of strong titles bound to come our way. And number three on this massive list of what you need, constant and consistent marketing to the casuals.
Yes, thank you.
No, so that's it now. PS4 has paved the way and given Xbox enough, tips. Like you need powerful hardware, a strong first party, and consistent marketing to the casuals. And going into next generation, Boom, this can't be understated. Sony and Xbox have all three of these things now. Whereas Sony had like two out of the three things, or all three of the things, and then two out of the three things when the One X came. But end of the day, Sony has always had all three of those things at one point or another. And Xbox probably has only ever really had one of those things, and that was after the One X came out. And that's the power. They didn't really have what would be considered universally as a strong first-party lineup of devs. While they did have very talented devs, they didn't have anywhere near as many as Sony. And the consistent marketing to the casuals, Christ, they didn't have any marketing at all. It was god-awful. I'm just saying it's taken Xbox a long time to catch up, but literally next generation, Xbox and Sony are going to be in the exact same shoes going into a new generation. Sony and Xbox have all of these three things in place, and it should make for a very interesting and very close generation. And it is literally, arguably, going to be toe-to-toe. I'm leaning more to toe-to-toe than I am Xbox are just going to stomp all over PlayStation. It's going to be a dirty fight right until the end, and I think it's going to be very interesting. And I'm looking forward to see what happens.
But you know what? You bring up a lot of great points. The way I look at the Xbox brand is this. They had a very, very solid generation with the 360. And why was that? Well, they had marketing deals out the ass, right? Call of Duty led the charge. Their second-party games, from the likes of Capcom, right, and so many others that made games exclusively for that console. That was, again, leading the charge. Games, they had the power. We know that Sony had issues with the cell processor on the PlayStation 3. Devs hated it. It was really difficult to work on that console. So they went into this generation, like, take for instance sports. I'm going to bring up boxing, right? You have a guy that's been wearing the belt for 5 years, right? And he's basically just pummeled every opponent. And you look back to when Mike Tyson lost the belt the first time. The guy coming in was a nobody, and not saying that Sony was a nobody, because Sony is Sony. I mean, obviously the PlayStation brand, they're making their fifth one. So the PlayStation brand is a very, very strong, solid brand. But Microsoft went into this generation too cocky. They went in there. There were people in charge that shouldn't have been in charge. Things were said. They pulled a Sony from 2006 with, hey, listen, if you want the PS3, get a second job. And then, of course, the knucklehead came out and said, well, if you don't want to be online all the time, we got a console for you. It's called the 360. You can't talk like that to people, especially if you're expecting these folks to buy your stuff. So they got knocked down. They lost the belt. And guess what, folks? They lost the belt for the entire generation until someone decided to come in, throw his hat into the ring, named Phil Spencer. And Phil has been literally just beating down everyone's expectations left and right. I mean, he came in, he made a bunch of promises. People were like, yeah, Phil's a nice guy, but we don't know. Right. So what did he do? He fixed the power. He came out under his watch, released the Xbox One S, released the Xbox One X. It's the most powerful console. It's small. It's silent. You can't hear it. It has like a PC based coolant inside where you'd only find in a big rig. And they were able to stick all of that into the Xbox One X. And it's become the standard. People are now moving over to it because of its power. Sony, on the other hand, I kind of wonder if they are doing what Microsoft kind of did at the beginning of this generation. I mean, they're like I said, they're encroaching in 100 million consoles. I mean, that's amazing, man. And the time that they did it in, it's second to nobody. So of course, I tip my cap to my cap to them. And of course, they killed it with their first party games. More specifically in 2018. I mean, all three of those games are in my top 10 of 2018. I loved every one of them. But here's the thing. We've seen some sidesteps from Sony post E3 2018. Right, their E3 didn't get really good reviews. A lot of flute players. The poor people that were there stood for 90 minutes to 2 hours before they can actually sit down. There was different people playing music instruments. The panel that they had at that desk. During the when they were moving the people to the next thing was extremely awkward and not well done. I mean, so they dropped the ball there, and then you look at what they've done so far, right? And again, this isn't attacking Sony. I'm just putting facts out there, folks. So if there's a couple of boo birds in the chat, which I didn't see, this is not someone who dislikes Sony. I mean, I have a PlayStation VR. I have 30 games for it. I have 200 games for my PS4 Pro. I'm a fan. But if Microsoft makes a mistake, I mean, Welsh, you can back me up on this. I'm the first one to call them out. So I kind of gotta, we're talking about Sony versus Microsoft. I have to bring up their shortcomings in 2018, right? They don't show up to Paris Games Week, very unusual. They don't show up to Gamescom, very unusual. They pull out, they cancel PSX. Very, very strange. And then before the year ends, they announced they're not coming to E3 2019 for the first time in the company's history. So I have questions. I'm not saying that the PS5 is going to be a bomb. I think it's going to be a monster of a system. And I think they would be fools not to bring that to the masses. But at the same time, if you compare what Sony has done to what Microsoft has done, again, we're talking post E3, folks, okay? We know that Sony brought some really big bangers in 2018. I loved every one of them, and we know that for some people, some of the offerings on the Microsoft side may not have been your bag. I get it. I completely understand because I'm right there with you. But if you look on a sliding spectrum here, it seems like Sony is kind of sliding down where Microsoft is sliding up. Now, again, this is too early to tell what the next generation is going to be, but we know that Microsoft is learning from their mistakes. And you keep saying casuals, Welsh, and I kind of want to just touch on that for a second because that's important. The casual market is probably 65+% of those 100 million consoles sold. People don't understand that. It's not the hardcore gamers. The hardcore on any system are the minority. I mean, so what are your takes on what I'm saying about this, Welsh?
Well, I'm going to jump on the back of that casuals thing. Like, you are correct. The hardcore is a very small minority in comparison. But also, I just want to say that what you were saying about like PlayStation pulling out of all of these different things, E3 2019 being probably the biggest one, calling a spade, that is quite a large hit. I got to be honest, playing devil's advocate in tandem with what I've been saying about Sony, like, they're gonna have their their left right punch ready and waiting come next gen too. I reckon that they're taking their foot off the gas a little bit. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. They have won this generation by a landslide.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking like one more year and next gen is starting. Like,
Yep.
Scarlet and PS5 are going to be coming out within the next year or so. Like Xbox is likely going to be 2020. There's talk of PS5 late 2019, but my argument is, come 2020, we're going to start seeing these new consoles. And I'm just wondering if Sony, from one perspective, it doesn't look good. Like, oh, they've pulled out of this, they pulled out of that, they pulled out of E3, they pulled out of this. They're not showing this, not showing that. Oh, what the hell's going on, Sony? But I do think that they're just like pulling back a little. It's like, why are we wasting our time when one more year and we can just blow our load all over the new consoles? Like, in a good way. Like, usually blow your load is a bad thing, but in this sense, I'm just wondering if they're holding back a few of their projects that they might have like announced at E3 2019 in order to wait until the next gen. Back to what I was saying: powerful hardware, strong first party, consistent marketing. The PS5, the Xbox Anaconda and Lockhart, the Scarlet family. These two systems want to open up the next generation with all those three things in mind. But you can't sell a system without games. And I think PlayStation know that if they announce a load of games now, there's going to be no room for excitement come the opening ceremony of the PS5. So I think it's all coming together. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. It's all written on the wall. I think between now and 2020, I think PlayStation's going to take their foot off the gas because they don't really need to put their foot on the gas. They've won this gen. It's done. Like, literally, like, they've got Days Gone and Death Stranding coming out this year, I imagine. They're bound to come out 2019, and then 2020 there'll probably be a new list of first-party games that they're going to be announcing for the PS5. So it's a very difficult one because obviously I'm just speculating, but bottom line, I mean, all in all, I think Xbox and PlayStation 5 is going to be a very, very close neck and neck entrance into a new generation. I'm really excited, Boom. I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what happens. But bottom line, and this is what you were saying as well, Xbox, please, casuals.
Yeah.
The casuals. Don't forget the casuals. That is literally, I'd say, 95% how you succeed. Like, honestly, out of those three things, powerful hardware, strong first party, and marketing to the casuals, on a pie chart, it'd be 90% marketing to casuals and 5% first party, 5% powerful hardware. That is the order of importance for those three things that you need. And that's why PlayStation has just taken us for a ride this generation. They jumped on the back of Xbox's ego, going from 360 to Xbox One, and they just paved the way for success. And now they're in a position where it's like, why do we even need to turn up to E3 2019? Like, one more year and we can just blow the doors off. Who knows? I mean, I'm an Xbox guy. I'm just throwing things out there. I could be completely wrong. They might have just blown their load and they got fuck all the show. Who knows? But I just reckon personally, like, they've got projects behind their sleeves. They know what they're doing. They've led this generation not by chance. I reckon like I said, without repeating myself, it's going to be toe to toe. It's going to be interesting.
Well, it certainly is. And I'm, of course, going to be there. You're going to be there. Everyone in the chat. That's 116 people watching live. That's amazing. I want to say this. Please, if you don't mind, if you're enjoying the show, I encourage you to please hit the like button. It does help the show grow. And I also want to, on the back end of that, encourage you that if you're not having a good time and you feel that, this is not the show for you and you don't like it, I say hit the thumbs down button. Either way, your opinion does matter, whether you like the show or you don't. I want to give a big shout out to UK Dazarus, of course, the sheriff who takes care of business in the chat. He says maybe Sony is just waiting to see what Microsoft is going to do first with the specs. You know what? That's always a possibility. I mean, listen. each company has their secrets, but I have a funny feeling that because they're both using AMD, the information gets out there of what the one person is doing, what the other person is doing. I'm sure Microsoft knows what Sony's doing, and I'm sure that Sony knows what Microsoft is doing. You know, it's a business, so I'm sure. But you know, listen, I want to move.
Honestly, Boom, before you carry on, I got to be honest though. Even everything I've just said, and I truly mean it, I do think going into next gen, they are, as long as both systems, which I've seriously no doubt is going to be an issue, as long as they have those three things ticked off, they're both going to be very neck and neck. But if we're talking who has the bigger checkbook, in theory, Xbox, at least the Anaconda out of the three SKUs, should, in theory, I'm not saying it's fact, it's not even my opinion, it's just a theory. In theory, it should literally make the PS5 look like child's play. In theory.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think that we are going to get the triple attack. I think we're going to get we know the Anaconda is going to be the premium, most expensive system. I don't know the price. I'd like to say it's going to be $5, but if it's going to be that much better, it might be slightly more. I say go for the gusto, make a $600 console and include the Elite 2.0 controller in there. That's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe I'm a lunatic, but you know what? That's what I would do. If you're going to go crazy, go crazy. And then obviously have the middle one. And it's the middle one, it's supposed to be Lockhart, as they're calling it. It's supposed to be slightly more powerful than the X, and that in itself is pretty hard to imagine, considering the X is amazing. And of course, you're going to have the streaming box, which is the Project X Cloud for the casual gamer. You put $100 little box out there, people are going to kind of flock to it. I think, especially when you include the ability to get Game Pass on there, and for $10 a month, you're getting 200 games to play. I think it's a big deal. But before I move on to the next topic, someone in the chat, I don't remember who it was, says, could you please talk about Halo? And that's going to be the next topic. But before we get on to that, I have to thank Easy Money 4K for the $10 super chat. He says, more Hondas are sold than Rolls Royces. With Xbox and MS, you'll get quality, quantities, and services, and the best servers in the game. By the way, xCloud Gaming is going to change the world, and I absolutely agree with him. But you know what? Let's move on to the next topic, because I have a funny feeling I'm going to get booed on this one. And I think I don't know if you're with me on this, Welsh, but let's break it down. Halo Infinite, Halo Infinite may be more RPG-like than previous entries, and that's exactly what the long-running series needs, in my opinion. In a story pulled from comicbook.com, there seems to be more questions than answers. And as a player, talking about myself, who's been a fan of the series since the OG Xbox days, I've enjoyed my time as the Master Chief and saving humanity numerous times. Also, traveling the universe, seeing the worlds that I may only see in a big budget Star Wars film. It has been an amazing ride, but I'm sorry to say, folks, change is necessary. And it looks like Halo Infinite will become more RPG-like, or at least include more RPG elements than previous entries in the series. And I think this is a good thing. Now, earlier this month, 343 Industries and Microsoft posted a job listing for a senior systems designer that loves Halo, narrative-based games, shooters, and of course is qualified. But all of that is to be expected. What isn't, though, is one of the qualifications for this position is familiarity in RPG mechanics. Here is the rundown of requirements that 343 Industries is asking from its applicants. They need to have 7+ years working in a senior or higher design capacity on AAA titles. They need to be familiar with RPG and shooter game mechanics, ability to learn new tool sets, and proven record of scripting and implementing within them. A working knowledge of industry standards with game engines, design, tool sets, scripting, languages, and production pipelines, and also be experienced as a manager or mentor. Again, all of this sounds right, except for being familiar with the RPG and game mechanics. Now, I do know, I know this. There are a lot of folks in the Halo community that want their corridor shooter Halo. They want their Master Chief. They want a whole game about Master Chief. And I'm right there with you. But the game is going on its 6th iteration. And I hate to say this, guys. They need to change it up a bit. I'm not saying scrap what they did in the 5 or 6 previous games if you include Reach. We know what we like about Halo. And I'm going to say this. Please don't get mad at me. The D word. I'm not saying it should be like Destiny. I'm not saying that they should follow what Bungie did with Destiny. What I'm saying is that games as a service is the route that Microsoft and many companies in the industry are going down because they need to keep these games alive years after its initial release. I want to be playing Halo Infinite 3 years after its launch with the same excitement that I did when the game first came out. I know, Drew, you want to as well. Am I talking craziness, or do you believe that they need to change Halo a bit?
Sorry, Boom. I'm just on the phone a minute. I'm just calling the psychiatric ward. Just
do they have a spot for me? Is the room comfortable?
Yeah, don't worry. The room is green, and they're going to put an Xbox covered in bloody blue taffy wrap for you. So it's all good. It's all set up for you. No, Boom. On a serious note, my friend, and everyone in the chat, love me or hate me, but I'm on board with my brother here. And and it's not a case of like just a blind following. Like Boom, lead the way. If you say jump, how high? I'm quick to disagree with Boom, and I wouldn't have a problem doing it. But in this case, I do believe it's good. Change is always good, Boom, but if done correctly. I personally would love to see Halo tread into open world RPG territory, and quite frankly, Halo needs it. Now, for everyone in the chat, listen, when I say Halo needs it, that is not in the sense that it would fail without it, but in the sense that if you had a pet eagle, why would you keep it in a cage its whole life?
I agree.
Let's break this down a second, Boom. Halo, and this is if you compare it to things like Star Wars, Star Trek, there's so many other massive universes, established universes. Halo is huge, massive, and utterly gigantic. The universe is massive. One that I personally have been fascinated with since Combat Evolved. It would be a huge, keep saying huge, but it would be a huge waste of an opportunity if the tools are there to venture and make this Halo more exploratory, and they chose not to. Like having a pet eagle with a wingspan of 180 inches and keeping it in a freaking 3x3 inch cage its whole life. Why would you do that? I'm sorry. Signs point to yes. The initial E3 trailer indicates yes. The job listings you just shown, Boom, point to yes. I usually take things with grains of salt until finalized announcements, but at this point, I would honestly and genuinely be shocked and surprised if Halo Infinite was not an open world RPG. Keeping the fundamentals of Halo, no pay to win bullshit, have people rewarded for effort and exploration, and you will have a successful Halo single player. It is as simple as that. If they do those things correctly, Boom, change is welcome in my books.
Well, you know what? I mean, look, with all the information that we have in front of us, again, this is detailed information. The source has been confirmed. I've read it on other sites. I happen to use this particular one. But it begs the question, why the heck would 343 Industries be wanting someone familiar with RPG game mechanics and have that as one of the requirements? I mean, it's definitely suggests that Halo Infinite will, at the very least, have more RPG mechanics than previous games. And like we were both agreeing to, I think it needs. Again, I'm not saying that Halo should become Destiny. That is so far from the truth. But at the same time, man, I mean, look, here's the thing. When you talk about Halo in a conversation with people, right? You usually hear, oh man, well, Halo on the original Xbox was amazing. I couldn't believe what I was playing. Or Halo 2, my God, the multiplayer, holy cow, is great. And then 3, oh my God, 3's multiplayer. I spent 10,000 hours on it. I loved every minute of it. Right. And then you talk about, well, the last game that Bungie made was Reach. Still the game I'm waiting for an HD remaster. Please, for the love of Jehovah, release that game, somebody, because that should be in the Master Chief Collection. I want to see that in 4K. Hopefully we get that as a surprise in 2019. But you don't hear many folks talking about Halo 4, right? You don't hear a lot of people talking about Halo 5. And it's funny because Halo 5 and Halo 4, what they got right and what they got wrong are two opposites. The single player campaign in 4, absolutely fantastic. The game looked gorgeous. It was a masterpiece. But they've ruined the multiplayer trying to make it like Call of Duty, right? Okay, so what? They come out with 5. And 5 story, listen, if you liked it, dude, no one is going to challenge you on that. That is your choice. I did not like the story. I thought that we were misinformed with the commercials of Locke versus Chief, and it just was to me, the story was a dud. But the multiplayer, the Warzone, was fantastic. So they got that right. They got that right, but they got the story wrong. And again, listen, we're all Master Chief fans here. If you gave me 3 levels of Locke, you get a thumbs up. You give me 8 of Locke, you get a thumbs down. I'm sorry. We're not playing it. Locke's an interesting character, and if done correctly, he would have been someone I would been rooting for. But at the same time, my goodness, it just did not resonate. And I was just really knocked on my rear. Pixel Bit G, my goodness, dude, with the $25 super chat. That's crazy. I cannot thank you enough. He says, the Halo I want is an open world with exploration. Chief should be looking for armor upgrades. Yes, good point. Think more Far Cry than Destiny. I also want the option to switch to a third person in single player mode. My God, this guy's amazing, because I've been saying that. Listen, I know that Halo is normally a first person game, but man, it would be great to, like, when you hold the guns, those big guns, and it goes into a third person perspective. I always loved that. I thought that was a fantastic. So thank you so much for the super chat. Great point. I don't know. I mean, look, it's going to come out. What worries me about everything is that there's a lot of pressure on 343 Industries, because they took the reins for 4, they took the reins for 5. 5 didn't do well. The Master Chief Collection still is a sore spot. I mean, it's perfect now, but obviously it launched with a lot of issues. I really want to see them get this right, and I'm hoping that Halo not only makes a triumphant return as a launch title for the Scarlet whatever it's going to be called, but it's going to be it's going to be a big deal. Like, I want the attach rate to be in the 85 percentile when you go out to buy this new console. Everyone that's anyone is going to want to get Halo with it. And I think that from what we're seeing, they're positioning themselves to do so. I mean, any last thoughts on this, Welsh?
Oh, absolutely, mate. How can I not? I've had a few people in the chat. One guy, Country Gentleman, his words were, no, where is it? The ones who demand Halo remains the same are also demanding gaming not to evolve in doing so. And I could not agree with that anymore. Like, you couldn't have put it any better. Bottom line, what frustrates me about the transition between Bungie and 343 when it came to the Halo franchise was the fact that people were just afraid of change. Like you said it best, Boom. Halo 4 and 5, what they did right and what they did wrong were total opposites, because what they did right in Halo 4 was its single player. That was in my opinion, out of every Halo game and story, that is my favorite story.
Yes.
Halo 4 was the most emotional and captivating I've ever seen. It was amazing. They knocked it out the park with that. but they fell short with the multiplayer. Now, Halo 5, their next chance and try attempt at a Halo game, the single player, while I did have fun with it, wasn't great. You know, I'm speaking for myself, not for everyone. It was very fun. It served a purpose, but it wasn't great. But where it was very strong and, to me, reinvented Halo was its multiplayer.
Yes.
So I'm just saying now, you can't make a nice, beautiful, delicious omelet without cracking a few eggs or dropping a few eggs on the floor or straight up just, I don't know. Bottom line, they've done Halo 4 and Halo 5. They know where they stand. They know what they did right. They know what they did wrong. They're looking into the RPG element, which for me was one of the best things that Bungie ever did going into ODST. I wish that they'd grabbed that by the balls and went even further with it, but they didn't. Now 343 has a chance to give us an ODST on steroids with Master Chief. You know, like you said, give us less Locke, give us less Arbiter. We want a sole Chief-centric game.
Yes.
We want to be able to explore the ring. We want to be able to explore Halo. We want to be able to go around in a spaceship maybe, get armor upgrades, build a base, recruit Marines. I don't know. There's so much they could do with this universe, and just make sure when it comes to the multiplayer, you stick with the same formula that you had with Halo 5. Maybe add some extra things like the ability to dual wield and bigger maps for big team battle. More, just do what you've got an amazing thing going. Just make it better. Like, don't change the fundamentals. Just keep everything the same. You've got all the instruments in front of you, 343. There's no reason to mess this up. There is no reason to mess this up. And I just think it's phenomenal. And I'm right with Country Gentleman when he says people that don't want Halo to evolve. I'm telling you now, Boom, if we went into 2020 and say we haven't even had a Halo 4 or a Halo 5, pretend that doesn't even exist. Pretend we don't even know who 343 is. Pretend the last Halo that was ever made was Halo Reach by Bungie.
Right.
All right? Just imagine that for a second. Then 2019, we get an E3 announcement. Wait for the Xbox Scarlet. With the launch of the Xbox Scarlet, Halo Infinite is coming out. And Halo Infinite is going to be made by 343. It's the new iteration of Halo since Halo Reach by Bungie. People are excited. People are scared. Blah, blah, blah. 2020 rolls around, you grab your Halo Infinite, you plug it into your bloody Scarlet, you turn it on, and it is literally just Halo 3 with better graphics. So
people would lose their minds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would. There'd be a tsunami tide of tears, and my Twitter, honestly, my Twitter account, I can see it now. My phone would probably blow up with the amount of ponies pointing fun at Xbox for re-releasing an aged game. Because I'm telling you, if 343 went down that road, I am telling you, it'd do more damage than good. I know people have their nostalgic memories, and like Mooch always says, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and it is true. But leave nostalgia where it belongs. It's the past. It's the things you look back on and it gives you a smile. Nostalgia loses its meaning if you're getting that shit today. Like,
you
need to evolve.
Absolutely.
You need to progress. 343 has tried a few things. They've broken a few eggs. I think Halo Infinite is going to be that amazing omelet with bloody seasoning and just a beautiful start to a beautiful day. Halo Infinite is going to be amazing, and it needs to evolve. You need things to progress. If we got another Halo 3, I think more people would be upset than good. People might think they'd be happier because of their memories of Halo 2 and 3, but it would go down like a lead balloon. It would be stupid. Change is good if done correctly. Keep the fundamentals of Halo. Let us explore. Let us venture in this massive open world that is Halo, the world we've all come to know and love and be fascinated with since the OG. Case in point, Boom. This is a good move by 343, and I wish them all the best. I wish them all the luck in the world.
Well, I'm right there with you, and I'm going to say this: the final point on the Halo thing. What has me excited is the Slipstream engine. That's going to be a big deal. It's going to be the first time that the engine has been changed, and that's probably why development is taking so long. I say take your time, wait it out, do the right thing, and let's get this to be a launch title in 2020. But You know what? Let's move on to the next topic. And we were talking about open world. We're talking about big games with story. We're talking about companies that know how to tell a story. You can't walk 10 feet without talking about Anthem, which comes out in a couple of months. And this is a great news if you're excited like me. The dev confirms there will be no season pass. All DLC will be free. And this is what they say. Just get the game, and that's it. Don't worry about anything. But I kind of want to break it down because I have the actual tweet. Someone by the name of pro_OMG on Twitter asked Mike Gamble a question regarding Anthem's post-launch DLC, and Mike Gamble responded. He says, "Hello, I'm really interested to know." This is what Pro OMG is asking him. He says at Mike Gamble, "Hello, I'm really interested to know if there's any DLC or season pass post-launch for Anthem. Like we do need to buy a $60 game and that's it. Or do we have to buy a season pass to get more content?" And here was his response. He says very simply, "No season pass, just get the game. Don't worry after that. Simple and straightforward. This is the transparency that BioWare and especially EA it definitely needs before Anthem comes out on February 22nd, 2019. Now, we know what happened to Star Wars Battlefront 2. Basically, that game was ruined out of the gate. Now, I'm sure that, listen, take nothing away from what they did. The game looks absolutely stunning, but the overall perception of that game is just in the garbage. Now, I played it recently, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had some fun with it, but that was supposed to be a big game, and it was ruined by EA's shenanigans when it comes to these microtransactions. BioWare, who is, they're at the top of the list when you talk to gamers about who tells the best stories and who they have a lot of faith in when it comes to making their games. Now, we understand that Mass Effect Andromeda took a bit of, I guess, shine off of the polish, but we also know that the main team was hard at work at Anthem, and Anthem is looking absolutely stunning. I think it's going to be one of the most played multiplayer games, especially with friends, considering that you can team up with 3 of your buddies, go out in the world, and it's going to be a looter shooter, which we all like. Drew, my question to you, Drew, is very simple. As great as Anthem is looking, there have been many gamers on the fence because of EA and the fact that they can't be trusted. Though it does appear they have learned from their mistakes, letting potential players know that there will not be any season pass locking them out from content should ease some of the anxiety. What are your takes on the matter? And do you, more importantly, for you, is Anthem a day one purchase?
It's 100% a day one purchase for me. But I'll be honest, even though EA pisses me off to the high heavens with just about every game, like the pay to win, microtransaction, season pass, bloody mentality, it blows my mind. The other week I tried to go on Battlefront 2 and I was just getting pummeled left and right because people have clearly just bought 1,000,001 bloody packs and got their purple perk cards all through the roof. It's just sickening, man. And then you look at FIFA and the Ultimate Team. It's like impossible to play against anyone if they've spent any money. It just blows my mind. And I just think, like, even before all of that and all that said and done, that my hatred towards EA for those reasons, this game was still a day one purchase for me because it just looks fun as hell. But I got to say, though, to take on this approach from EA and BioWare, I got to say this. My take on this approach is just thank you.
Yeah, yep, right there. I'm with you.
Thank you. Honestly, personally, I think season passes are very, very oversaturated these days and sometimes really unfair. Like back in the day, Boom, you would buy a game full price and that was it. Like, yeah. It just seems, now it seems a lot of these game developers and publishers, EA are definitely guilty of this, but they're not the only ones, but they sell you, literally, they willingly, on day in day, they will sell you a third of the game And if you want the whole game, you need the Ultimate Edition, or you need to fork out an extra 60, 80, maybe even $100 for the season pass. It's like that. I'm sorry, but to put it simply, it's just a massive slap in the face to people who are supporting your game day one, especially when said game, Anthem being one of them, is a brand new IP. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. So what nerve do you have to ask me to invest in the future of this title and get in the season pass and whatever, when for all I know I could be bored of it in a week? This game could suck ass.
Yeah.
Like, so it's very refreshing for me to know that when I buy Anthem, I won't have to spend another penny after the initial release. I just hope Anthem is a huge success.
Yeah,
because
me too. Yeah.
I hope that this starts a trend, and hopefully more games do this. And it does seem only fair when games are not cheap anyway, Boom. Like, cheap gaming is not cheap.
No.
And that's before you even spend extra on DLC. At the very least, though, I hope that if this doesn't start a trend universally with other game developers, I hope it at least starts a trend with EA and their games moving forward, because I'm looking forward to Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'm looking forward to an open world Star Wars. I'm looking forward to the next Battlefield and the next Madden. I can't help it. As much as I slap EA in the face if I could, I do enjoy what they produce. I do enjoy their games for what they are. But when they ask for all this extra money and they put you in a position where you have to spend money in order to do good on their games, it's just a slap in the face. And it's quite refreshing. Again, I'll just reiterate, it's refreshing that Anthem being a new IP and being that we're all a bit, not in the know, it's a bit of a mystery, like what this game has to offer, because it's new. It's nice that we're not going to be taken for a ride and we're just going to be charged the asking price on day one. And it sounds to me like they're going to be supporting this game for a long time. So hopefully we'll get bang for buck. But not this. I just hope this is a new trend, man. I just hope to God it's a new trend.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. I've been very vocal about this, and again, I may get booed, but this is a game that you want to see succeed. This is a game you want to be playing 3 years from now. I say that, and I'm not jumping on the games as a service bandwagon. What I'm saying is that if you're a fan of the brand, let's say, obviously, like I'm a Division fan, and I loved everything about the Division, even when it has its shortcomings, I still love the game. But then they came back and they just dropped, update after update after update, and then the last big one where it opened up the entire West Side Pier for the full price of free, and it was fantastic. So they made strides to make the game better. Anthem has the potential to not only be an incredible single player with its story, but the multiplayer with your friends. And one of the things I hope that they do, because they have the Star Wars license, because they have the Titanfall license, because they have several other licenses like Mass Effect, if they want to drop cosmetic armor upgrades that you can make your your mech look like the armor that someone from Mass Effect wore, I'm all for that. I mean, charge me the $5. And again, some people may be like, well, I don't like that. Well, you know what? You don't have to buy. It's there for people like myself who don't mind transactions, especially when they're cosmetic. I would like one of my javelins to look like a mech from Titanfall. I think that would be dope, and I would be all down for that. Some people may say nay. But you know what? If you want this game if you want free DLC, you want constant upgrades, they have to pay the bill somehow. And I'm not making excuses for EA, especially EA. But at the same time, I'm all for cosmetic. What about you, Drew? What are your takes on the fact that they're probably going to have cosmetic upgrades that are going to not change the game, simply just change the look of your armor?
Dude, honestly, like, I'm glad you gave it to me when you did, because I was literally like ready to speak. I literally completely agree with you, and that goes for any game in the world. Like, cosmetics, I'm so down with. Like, if on Star Wars Battlefront 2 you want to spend $10 on a red Vader costume or a gold platinum gold bloody Vader costume. That's fine. But the second you're paying money for a freaking perk that makes your lightsaber like cut through spaceships in one single blow, that's where you lose me, EA.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know,
yes.
and it's like, and that's the thing with EA in general. Like when I think about FIFA, like the soccer game, the Ultimate Team, I've tried playing it in the past, and unless you spend money, you're going to fail at that game.
Yes.
It's a sad truth, but it is true. Like a game like FIFA, if you want to spend money on a certain jersey or color scheme for your team, or a certain badge for your player, or a certain hairstyle, or certain pair of boots, I don't know, that's fine. But once you start putting money down to have Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and all these other extremely overpowered bloody football players in one squad, it's not fair.
Yeah,
and in
it's
this
ridiculous.
case, like with Anthem, like especially if it's going down the, you know, just for lack of a better term, the Destiny route, where there's going to be PvP and you're going to be probably bumping into and interacting with other people. If you're asking me, Boom, would you like the ability to like buy a purple mech suit for your character, like just the cosmetics, versus buy a suit that is impenetrable to bullets? You know, I'm going to choose, for the greater good, the ability to choose a color, because it's cosmetic. It's pleasing to the individual. It's in, you know, you can personalize your experience, but it's still a fair game. That's what needs to happen. And I point at EA for this, because I think a lot of the hate that EA gets is warranted for this, because it is just scamming the gamers. And you know, especially when it comes to their online games, Battlefield is a bastard for it. Star Wars is a bastard for it. FIFA and Madden, absolute bastards for it. It is just literally like they're literally giving you a game and saying, enjoy the time while you last, because the second people start paying extra, you're going to get your ass kicked unless you spend some money. So good luck. That's literally EA games. That's what it should come with, as a warning, a disclaimer, and as you open the box, just in big letters, hope you're ready to spend money, Joker. Like, that's honestly, you've just bought into a money pit, my friend. Enjoy. Like, literally, that's what it should do. But the fact that Anthem is going completely the other way, I think it's brilliant. And when it comes to cosmetics and all that, I'm all for it, Boom. If you have the choice to buy something to personalize your experience, I'm all for that. Pay to win, big no.
Yeah, I agree, and I have to shout out Stone Paper Cookie in the chat. He's the one that said before, talk about this particular topic, and he must be reading my mind, because he says talk about the Ubisoft secret project, and that's the next topic that we're going to talk about right now. Ubisoft is potentially teasing a new Tom Clancy game, and this is a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt, folks. Could this be the Splinter Cell / Ghost team up that we've all been dreaming of? Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands was the last time Ubisoft released a brand new Tom Clancy game. They have started to tease about a new one with a series of mysterious hints found buried basically everywhere. Fans have been able to discover Easter eggs and hints that reference to Skell technology on a YouTube video. Their presence can also be seen in various missions that they were later added to the game. And we're talking about Ghost Recon Wildlands, making it clear that they are definitely part of the larger narrative. As it happens with such cases, they were able to trace the clues to a website for Skell technology. The clues gave away the login and password for the website, which were Santos, and the pass number was 168 respectively. Once logged in, the website shown promo videos for its fictional company, and they appear to supply military equipment like drones. These videos are unlisted on YouTube, but you can view them directly if you look for them. The interesting part of the video is the motto for the company, "A better future today," which sounds very sinister. The video also features the founder of Skell Technology, Jack Skell, who is pitching automated machines that can free mankind of its tedious limitations. Now, right now, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege will continue with Season 4, and the Division 2 will be released this year in March. But all eyes are now on Ubisoft to reveal their cards heading into the later part of the year. Here's my question. Again, this is a bit of a speculation kind of a topic. What if this was the Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell game that combined both titles into one giant game? Drew, how amazing would that be for the series and the fan base if you've been watching, the way this is playing out, Drew? The last time we saw anything with Sam Fisher was a little DLC that happened to be in Ghost Recon Wildlands. It's a one-shot mission where you got to help him out with one particular part. But after that, I was starving for more Splinter Cell, and I have been since the last one. I think everybody in the panel have been basically starving for a new Splinter Cell. And if we can't get a proper Splinter Cell on his own, would you sign off on doing a combination Ghost Recon / Splinter Cell game?
Well, I'm going to say first and foremost, if you can hear my son in the background, I apologize. He's literally just he's just upstairs with my missus a second because he needed the toilet, and she'll be taking him back downstairs. So just throwing that out there as a little disclaimer. But in terms of what you're saying, will Splinter Cell return? Right, I have no doubt, Boom, that we are going to see the return of Splinter Cell, as it's just it's ridiculously highly requested at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it is really silly at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like Ubisoft, if they were to just look the other way, they would have to be complete and utter morons to ignore the request. I mean, you're not the only one to say it, Boom. Microbox of X, a good friend of mine, he's been banging on about a Splinter Cell for God knows. People I game with over in the States, Master Chief and many, many more. Bear in mind, Master Chief's a gamer tag, not the actual Master Chief. If he was my friend, you'd never see me again. But no, honestly, mate, like, what a stupid idea if Ubisoft think, do you know what? Everyone wants a Splinter Cell. Let's not make a Splinter Cell. But that said, though, I got to say, why would they put all these Easter eggs and hints out there, specifically in Ghost Recon missions where, Sam Fisher was referenced directly? If they weren't going to bring him back to some capacity. Now, I personally would prefer a reboot or a continuation of a standalone Splinter Cell.
Okay.
But with that said, Boom, and I'm not writing off what you're saying, it would be really cool now, because I love Ghost Recon and I love Pandora Tomorrow, one of the original Splinter Cells. Yeah. I love it. I love it all. I like Ubisoft, to be fair. I love their games. But I'm not writing off what you're saying. With that said, even though I would personally prefer a continuation, as it's been a long time since I've even touched a Splinter Cell game, it would be cool if they combined two of their biggest IPs with Ghost Recon and the highly requested Splinter Cell and just created a hybrid of the two, making one juggernaut title. I think that would be very cool. I don't know how it would go down. Like, would it be called, Ghost Recon something, and it has Splinter Cell elements in it with Sam Fisher? Or would they go the route of a Ghost Recon game, but instead of the Ghost Recon elite squad, it's Sam Fisher and his, like, fellow, I don't know, agents or whatever, like, whoever he's working for. I can't remember the specifics, but you know what I mean, Boom.
Third echelon. Yeah.
How would they? What theme would they be going for? Which side of the coin would it be leaning more towards? The Ghost Recon side of things or the Splinter Cell side of things? Michael Luckett in the chat.
Yes, I just saw that. That's a good one.
Mate, Splinter Ghosts. Now that is a cool name. Ubisoft,
cool.
Get Ubisoft on the phone. We got make some bank. We got some ideas up in here. No, mate, I think that'd be phenomenal. All I can say for certain, though, is even though this is dubbed as a rumor, I do believe that we will, in fact, see Splinter Cell come back in some form. I strongly do believe that's the case, and I do think, and I'm just saying, not to like upset the masses. I'm just being realistic, because it's been years now we've been hearing this. So I think it's either got to happen or be put to bed. It's got to be one of those two things. If I'm just throwing this out there, if they do not reveal Splinter Cell or Ghost Splinter or Splinter Ghost or something with Splinter Cell, whether it be a standalone or an attachment, if they don't reveal something, if Ubisoft do not reveal something at E3 2019, I think people need to put that notion to bed and just forget about it for a little bit. Do you get what I'm saying, Boom? Just save yourself the disappointment. I'm just saying now, just for your own sanity, guys, if it doesn't happen at E3 2019, just forget about it. And then one day it'll come up and you'll be pleasantly surprised without having disappointed yourself and giving yourself high expectations. That is my advice. I do think it'll come eventually, but I think if they don't announce something in 2019, you just got to put that shit to bed. But I hope they do. I really do.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this. I have gone on record publicly the last couple of E3s, basically, putting my reputation on the line that we were going to see Splinter Cell, and I've been disappointed ever since.
Me too. I've done it as well. That's why I'm saying if it doesn't happen in 2019, people just let it die. Leave it alone.
You know what I mean? Listen, I mean, we know that Michael Ironside has confirmed that he was reading lines, right? We know that he's gonna reprise the role as Sam Fisher. Oh, that's basically been confirmed. A couple, beginning maybe towards the end of 2018, we had some rumors that the actual Splinter Cell game was canceled. I couldn't find much about that. That was a rumor. We have no confirmation from Ubisoft about that. I don't know. I mean, at this point, let me just say this. The one thing I really enjoy about the Ubisoft branded games is that they all interlink without stepping on each other's toes. Like, for instance, I played the last Assassin's Creed, which was Odyssey. And sorry if you hear the sirens in the background. They're not coming from me. They're hopefully going to save somebody. But in the part where you're not playing as the main character and you're in the current world, if you're looking around, you see the third echelon Splinter Cell goggles. You find that within the game. So that's what's telling me is that the Splinter Cell world exists within the Assassin's Creed world, and obviously the Assassin's Creed world lives in the Ghost Recon world because they teamed up. So I mean, it would be really interesting and pretty damn amazing to get two storied franchises like Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell to do a team up. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to say Splinter Cell Ghost Recon. It could be Tom Clancy's, throw a name in there, Tom Clancy's Blackbird. And in that story, it's going to involve both Sam Fisher and the guys from Ghost Recon. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't necessarily have to actually be called Splinter Cell or Ghost Recon. It could just be branded the Tom Clancy whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like Tom Clancy's Blackbird whatever. You know what I'm saying? And in this particular story, you would get multiple people from different games. I think that would be fantastic, but I don't know. I mean, at this point, we don't know anything. It's a shame because, like you said earlier, everyone, and I mean everyone, is clamoring for something Splinter Cell. At this point, I'm going to be honest with you. I would take an HD remaster of the original one that came out on the OG Xbox and the PS3. Just do it up, in new graphics and sell for $60. You can have my money right now.
Well, it's like I said, Boom. I honestly do think, after all the people asking, like I said, we will see a return of Splinter Cell in some form. I mean, like I said, obviously it'd be better for the fans to have a return, like a continuation or a full reboot or something. But I said some form, and by that I mean, like you said, like to just remaster in 4K for the One X and the PS4 Pro, the original Splinter Cell that started it all. Like, I think a lot of people would be happy about that.
Yeah, I would be happy about it. I would be happy just to play as Sam Fisher again, and regardless of what facet, whether it's a team up, whether it's a solo, whether it's a remaster, I'm all for it. I think the gaming world needs a new Splinter Cell. You know what? To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind them returning to the classic Ghost Recon, where the Future Warriors. If you remember that,
Future Warfare or something.
that was
Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, those were
mate.
really, really fantastic games.
I have so many memories playing those games on the 360. It's painful, like unbelievable. Rainbow Six Las Vegas as well. Like those two games in tandem were like just bring back so much nostalgia for me. That's what I mean. All this talk of Ubisoft bringing back a game and all this talk of Splinter Cell, we could be so off the mark. They could be bringing back like Future Warfare or rebooting that franchise, which was a cult classic in and of itself. Like Ubisoft are good, man. I got a lot of time for Ubisoft. I know whatever they'll do is going to be interesting. I mean, I've been playing Rainbow Six Siege lately, and that game alone is just an unstoppable force. Like
that's a game that keeps giving.
Oh, mate, it's just there's no sign of that game just taking its foot off the gas. Like, and that's just honestly, man. Ubisoft are doing good things. I just hope that if they're keeping their ear to the ground, they listen to what a lot of people are asking for. Because I think the popular vote is Splinter Cell. And like a lot of people are saying in the chat, we've said, I do think it will come back to some capacity, whether it be a remake, remaster, a continuation, whatever they do. Just reveal it in 2019. Or like I said, guys, just put your hopes into something else because it's clearly either not happening or not happening for a while.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, I'm going to say this. It has been a fantastic show. We are past the 90-minute mark. This has been a real amazing way to kick off 2019. This show is going to blow your socks off each and every week. It's something that both, the Welsh Gamer and I strive to do. I'd like to consider this show that we have taken upon ourselves to do. It's one of the better Xbox shows on YouTube. Again, I think I can say with confidence that you're never going to be disappointed coming to hang out. We had over 130 people watching live, which is absolutely amazing. The super chats, of course, regardless of whether it's $1 or $25, it is greatly appreciated. So thank you for everyone that donated. And Welsh, listen, 2019 is going to see the revival, if you will, of the Dragon X podcast, I hope. I know you're going to be doing some things on your channel. You're an important cog to this partnership, and the show would not run without you. I want to say that publicly because we are more than just friends. We are almost as brothers, and I could not have asked a better person, a more confident Xbox fan than yourself to join me on this magical mystery tour. So I thank you for that. But tell everyone where they could follow you on Twitter, and more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, cheers. Boom. Everything you said, mate, ditto. With regards to the Dragon X podcast, I've had a few people now, quite a few people actually asking me if it's coming back, even a few people in the chat earlier. I don't know is the answer. I'm not trying to leave anyone in suspense and build it up to this big thing. Like I had a lot of fun with the Dragon X podcast while I was doing it, but I needed to have a nice break from it. And frankly, all my passion and the fun I'm having at the moment, literally, I'm not going to lie, and I'm saying this publicly, probably the only reason I'm even doing YouTube still is because of this guy right here and the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm having a great deal of fun with the Xbox Factor podcast. And while I'm still having fun, I'm going to keep doing it. And with regards to Dragon X, I do have intention, or at least did have intention of bringing it back, but I cannot possibly tell you when. So just keep an ear to the ground. My channel is going to be more than active this year. My New Year's resolution is to try and get at least one video out a week. I'm probably going to start that train rolling next week. So be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, and I can assure you content is on the way. But as for live streaming and the Dragon X and anything like that, I'll keep an ear out for an announcement if and when it even happens. But this has been an awesome show, Boom. The Welsh Gamer here. Please subscribe. Please subscribe to Boom's channel first and foremost, and be sure to tune in every week. You guys in the chat are phenomenal people. Your support means everything to me and Boom. I have so much fun interacting with you guys on a weekly basis. This show is fire. Boom. Once again, thanks for having me. Awesome topics. We blew it out of the water. I can't wait to listen back to it when I go and walk my dog.
Well, listen, again, I have to, of course, shout out the chat. Once again, you've proven why, I've gotten the reputation of having the most friendliest chat on YouTube. I'm very proud to say that, guys and gals that come here, are here to have fun with one another, talk games, hang out, hear some news, have some laughs. And I love it. I think that that's the way the chat should be. But I want to make a small announcement. A lot of people have been wondering what UK Dazris and I have been up to, because we made a semi secretive announcement. As of January 13th, the Dazcast is coming back in a big way, and it's going to be hosted on my YouTube channel with, of course, the blessing and want of UK Dazris. He is still going to be the host, but it's just going to be a new location of where to watch it. The first episode, again, is going to be January 13th. The time will be, I'll put that out there in a little bit. I need to finalize a few things with UK Dazris, and it's going to be played once a month from there on my channel. And like I said, dates and times of when that's going to happen will, of course, always be posted so everyone knows. I'm very excited to hang out with that crew. It's a little bit of a different show. Obviously, it's a more adult themed than what Boom is normally used to, but it's also going to be a little later in the evening. So I do hope that everyone tunes in for that. That's going to be something big that we're working on together for 2019. And as usual, tomorrow's Xbox, obviously the Xbox Factor podcast is going to be blowing up in a big way. Again, I'm always going to have all the best news, and Drew and I are going to break everything down for you. And tomorrow's Breakfast with Boom is going to be the year in gaming 2018. It's going to cover the Xbox, the PlayStation, of course, the Nintendo Switch, and that's going to be a big episode. I'm going to be putting out the guest list later on this afternoon. I hope everyone tunes in for that. So I just want to say thank you again to the chat. Thank you again to the for the super chat donations. Drew, thank you for just being the awesome guy that you are. And I want to wish everyone a fantastic day. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Have a great day, everybody.
Take it easy.